Hello everyone and welcome back to Kinkoi, Sylvie's Route. Akane's back, big shock.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen this at least a lot. Like at the start of episodes, I mean.
Wait until we go down her route.
Morning, Akane-chan.
なんだか辛そうですね。
Am I?
I stuffed my face until nearly midnight last night.
That would do it. The junk food party was fun, but I guess it was a bad move on our part to start past 9 o'clock. Oh no.
美味しそうなアップルパイ。
You want some?
Oh, you can have it.
When I came outside,
おはよう、オラ。
Sylvie came out from Ria's room.
お姫様が。
Yo. Oh, did you say in Ria's room?
あの後もしばらくお話ししてたんだけど、そのまま二人で。
Aw. A sleepover with two beautiful ladies. I obviously couldn't possibly take part, but I wish I could have at least gotten a glimpse.
オーラはどうしたの？こんなに早く。
I had a jolly prowler.
の、
This is the jolly prowler.
あら？
You know, I knew it was coming.
おお、元気だね、お姫様。ラジオ体操、体育の時間にやるのは知っていたけれど、なるほど、目覚めにやるのも効果的ね。
It's a piece of wisdom from Japanese summer breaks.
We headed to school shortly thereafter.
相馬くん、今日もお休み。
Are you really surprised?
Yeah, not much you can do about her. I feel like out of the entire, I have no idea how many days you'd be in school, 270, something like that, I don't know. Probably more, I don't know. I feel like she's probably been there like 4.
Yeah, you know, you're probably right. I did go wake her, but she also had a severe case of heartburn from our late-night binging spree. In her case, she'd probably skip.
もう、今日は2学期最後なのに。
I get it.
It had completely slipped my mind. Next Monday was the end of term ceremony. Today was the last day of classes.
オーラ最近、授業に身を入れてるわよね。
I want to be the very best, so I can marry a princess.
Dun 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 dun.
Yes?
I doubt it'll amount to much though.
I was taking this seriously, but I didn't know what I didn't know. Since I was preparing and reviewing as much as possible, I had learned new things along the way. But still, my path to becoming a diplomat would be a long one. And then...
シルビー様、よろしいですか？
おはよう、エル。
おはようございます。
Ella-san respectfully bowed. It was fairly rare for these two to commute to school separately, I supposed.
明日なのですが、急な用事が入ってしまいました。
あら？明日はクマポン家へ行ってお城の修繕応援会で演奏するんじゃなかったかしら。
You mean Kumamoto Prefecture? You're going all the way to Kumamoto? That's awesome. Kumamoto? That one.
Yeah. Royalty had it rough on a daily basis.
I mean, to be fair, she has her own helicopter, so...
That is a very good point. If you have your own helicopter, it's minor inconvenience. Oh.
龍蔵寺殿がどうしても明日会いたいと、修繕応援会のスポンサーの一人ですので無視できません。
Ah, well, looks like you were right about him still being a pain in the butt.
あらあら、龍蔵寺さん。タイミングが悪かったものね。やっぱり私のことを恨んでるのかしら。
でしょうね。確認しておきますが、何を言われても交わしてください。決して謝ってはなりません。
わかってます。そこら辺の駆け引きは。
And at the end of it, you just see Ella-san in a crater somewhere going, Why didn't you dodge?
適当にお茶を濁して逃げるわ。相馬くんと会えるつてを作ってくれたのは感謝だけれど、向こうも好き勝手したし、おあいこよね。
Are you though?
I mean, to be fair, she's pretty. I think she'll probably be fine. She's good at making an escape.
That's true. She manages to get away from Ella-san a lot.
Ella-san and all of the black suited guards.
Oh, yeah.
Can I say something?
Sylvie lifted her hand to say yes.
You and this Ryuzoji person have no relationship whatsoever, right?
ええ、講師織り交ぜてのお付き合いを望まれて、これまでは応じてきたけれど、相馬くんとはもう個人的にコンタクトが取れるんだもの。今後は講師の死は打ち切っちゃって OK。
So this was Sylvie's way of saying she was done with him? I bet he was perfectly aware of this. Why call her over now? I wondered what it could be. This gave me a bad feeling. I got a bad feeling about this kid.
マリアに合わせるのが早すぎた。まさかこうもあっさりあちらで打ち解けてしまうとは。
あのマリアが心を許すとは思いませんでしたね。
くっそー、シルビア王女、一発で僕を切り捨てるってそんなに僕に興味ないのか。ちょっと強引だが、明日は何としても婚約話を引きずらせてもらうぞ。タブロイド紙の記者どもは何人くらい用意できた？
金の匂いがすればいくらでも寄ってくる害虫どもです。20や30は楽に集まるでしょうが。
タイミングを間違えるなよ。無理やりでも何でも僕が彼女の唇を奪う、その瞬間を写真に収めて即記事にさせるんだ。
Alright, that's a little creepy.
Yeah.
本当によろしいので？国際問題にでもなったら。
だからこそ向こうは何も言えないさ。キスごときでそう騒ぎ立てるわけにもいかない。
Are you sure about that?
あとは民意を適当に誘導して、うちとソルティレージが蜜月だと思い込ませれば、自然とあの国の日本での窓口はうちに限定される。
I'm just getting the mental picture of him kissing her and her just whap.
Let's not forget the fact that, like, this isn't counting Ella-san.
Oh, yeah.
そしたら時間をかけてゆっくりとだな。
It'll, like, flash forward to the next day and Ella-san's, he's got, like, he had his guards and him, and you flash to the next day and it's just Ella-san all bloodied holding his head. Just be like, I got this for Sylvie-san.
Oh, I was just imagining him being tied up in a cocoon, kind of like we were in, what, the first episode? Or second episode? One of those.
Yeah, it was like second episode. Or wait, what was it
そうう
first?
まくいくでしょうか。
That was a long time ago.
それに僕ってキスがうまいからさ、無理やりでもしちゃえば彼女も僕に悪い気しないかも。
I really don't like this guy.
いや本当にうまいだって。これまでした子みんなそう言うもん。
これまでした子って？
They're in my dreams.
キャバクラとかソープとか。
Ah, okay.
とにかく 記者の準備しておけよ。
She's just like, I don't get paid enough for this shit.
And she gets paid a lot.
Yeah.
どうされました？難しい顔をなさってますが。
Oh, yeah.
That Ryuzoji guy really did rub me the wrong way. I had nothing to base it on, but I felt uneasy for some reason.
Hey, Sylvie.
何？
About that meeting tomorrow. Do you know where you're gonna meet up or anything?
そうね。隣町のホテルだと思うわ。あそこ、とても綺麗な日本庭園があるの。
Sylvie was smiling sweetly. She didn't appear to be on guard in the slightest. Sylvie was in the right on this one, and there was no need to be on guard. I was the weird one here.
Oh wow, never been in that position before.
But I couldn't shake this feeling.
Hey, would it be okay with you if I went with you? The garden, I think I'd like to take a quick look myself, and if it's a high-class hotel, I couldn't exactly go and see it by myself very easily.
もちろんいいわよ。
Sylvie smiled happily, but
それじゃあ、エルにオーラも。ダメよ、オーラ。明日、チエカさんと約束があるんでしょ？
Shit.
oh, right. I just confirmed that with her yesterday. She asked me to go out with her tomorrow to make up for Christmas.
Then why don't we bring Chieka along or something?
We hadn't decided on where we would go yet anyway. Chieka would willingly tag along if I told her we were going to lunch at a high-class hotel. But
ダメ。二人で会うんでしょ？なら、チエカさんに集中してあげて。
this could have been avoided.
私が間に入ったら、彼女にもきっと変に思われるわ。
Well, yeah, I bet she'd be crazy nervous if she ran into the princess of Sortilege. In the end, it wasn't looking plausible for me to tag along.
Well, maybe.
Huh?
We still could.
Yeah?
Hey, Chieka, do you want to go to a nice Japanese-style garden?
How can you afford this? You don't need to know the details.
He just uses the black card that they gave him.
Oh, yeah. What to do about this?
I don't know, maybe unpack your damn boxes after like 6 months?
Never gonna happen. I had made up my mind to try and win Sylvie over by age 25. Which is sooner than I'll get those damn boxes unpacked. But if I was acting so impatient now, could I wait that long? Still, it'd simply be overreacting if I were to tell her I loved her now. My shell wasn't cool enough to pull that one off. I really kind of thought we were past shell talk.
金色ラブリッチェ。
The night had passed, but the gloom I felt hadn't faded. It was currently 9 a.m., and right around the time I was waiting for Chieka to call me. Walking around outside was such a pain, too. What to do?
はよ。
Hey.
ん？テンション低いな。
Well, I feel like shit. Damn, that wasn't a good comeback.
Yeah, pretty much. If a certain someone in a long black wig appeared, that perked me right up.
ない。
Aw.
ジュースもらうぞ。
Well, nothing ventured. Rhea grabbed a Ramoon from the fridge.
こっちも今テンション低い。
I can't see my forehead.
つかイライラする。くそ。手軽に殴れるサンドバッグ持ってないか？お前の腹でもいい。
No, no, no. You've already done that, and it didn't work well for us last time.
Nope. Something wrong? If you're ticked off listening to Maria Bishop's music, strangely soothing. You could sing if you want.
Oh, he just will not give up.
ない。
Okay, don't hit me.
She patted at her pockets. With that, she clicked her tongue as if she realized something and gave up. Ah, she's out of cigarettes.
Oh? Out of cigarettes or something?
それ。
Oh my god, we actually got a high roll for perception.
今禁煙3日目。一番きつい日だ。やっぱりサンドバッグがいるな。
Funny thing, I know this guy named Ryuzoji.
He'd make a great punching bag. She chugged down the Ramoon in a single gulp.
クリスマスまで持つかこれ。くっそ。
Christmas? Did you quit for the party?
仕事受けちゃったし、タバコの匂いさせてるとまずいだろ、マリア・ビショップが。
Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. I thought it might have been something like Sylvie realized she was smoking and said, you really shouldn't do that, or... I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
She was a more conscientious person than I expected.
It actually also would make sense for, vocal range.
Oh, absolutely.
It'd be disillusioning beyond belief if the lovely Maria smelled like nicotine. Maria gives off this impression that she emits this citrusy, minty fresh aroma from her sweat glands, like some all-natural fruit sprite.
She's not an orange.
シトラスミントね。クリスマス会はそれ以外の香水で行くから。どっちにしろタバコは NG。
She collapsed limply to the floor. It was one downbeat day for both of us.
そっちは？
Nothing much.
シルビーに振られたとか。
She hasn't turned me down. You shouldn't say stuff like that.
Yeah, you're supposed to be supporting this.
It's more than that. I'm stressed out because I can't tell her how I feel yet.
A diplomat by age 25. The distance I would have to travel and how steep the climb would be to get there, all of it left me feeling down in the dumps.
告白できない？なんで？
You know, I was actually legitimately wondering the same thing.
I mean, remember what I said before? If I did it the way I am now...
なんか言ってたっけ？あのさ、イチ。もうあの時とは状況違くね？
Oh.
Both of my rivals had fallen by the wayside, and it was probably safe to disregard that Ryuzoji guy, too. There was no reason not to confess with the way things currently stood. But...
ヘタレが。
Yep. That was the conclusion anyone would reach.
Or at least most of us.
Yeah. The only reason I refused to confess was for that exact reason. It was true that I wasn't worthy of Sylvie the way I was now. But I did think the biggest reason was how much of a loser I was.
I still can't do it. Not how I am now. I'm not confident enough that I could become the cool sort of guy who deserves to be at her side.
It was too soon.
別にかっこよくなくてもいいんじゃね？
Huh?
Where did this come from? You were the one who brought how cool or lame I was up in the first place. The second that crossed my mind,
わかってねえな、お前。
never do.
I was gonna say, we don't get a lot of things, so you gotta be a little bit more specific.
Mm-hmm.
大事なのは今かっこいいことじゃねえよ。
It's whether or not you're cool in the future.
かっこつけることだよ。
Never mind.
かっこつけた結果どうなるかなんてわからないけど、でもかっこつけてるやつは無条件でかっこいいもんだぜ。
What did she mean? I didn't get it, but then...
チャスオールくん。あ、いた。
Where else would we be? Chieka arrived.
どうも、今消えるんで。
Why is there a different woman in your room every time I come here?
はい、どうも。
Looked like she got cold feet since there was a delinquent in my room. She was pretty on edge. Wait, how does she know that she's a delinquent? Is it just the attire, or...?
Probably like the attire, the blonde hair, the, you know.
Ah, fair.
もしかして、相馬くん？
Oh my god, she figured it out.
Yeah, but she didn't at least figure out that she and Maria Bishop are the same person.
Give her another 2 lines.
You immediately recognized her too, huh?
久しぶり、チェッカ。嘘、久しぶり。
These two had met back in the day, but she recognized her at a glance. Was this normal? Was I the majorly dense one for taking so long to piece it together?
Yes, you
Yeah.
are.
Duh.
You're also super dense for taking this long to realize how dense you are. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom... Never mind. We said goodbye to Ria, who went to sleep in her room, and I headed out with Chieka.
一回そう、リアちゃんもノーブルだったなんてなんで言ってくれなかったのよ。
Because I never tell you anything.
Because we're not on our route yet. I didn't know you remembered her. So, where are we going today?
I agreed to spend Christmas together, but then I bailed because of the party Maria would be attending. Today's get-together was to make up for that. Today ought to be plenty to go do something Christmassy, like go around looking at the decorative lights. People started doing those activities around the end of November anyway. However, Chieka looked less than pleased with me. What did we do now?
I assume that you plan to try and make me see Torio since it's Christmas.
Oh. The childhood friend I cut ties with after the incident that summer. I knew Chieka wanted us to patch things up.
Torio could have taken time off for Christmas, but today's a Sunday and our baseball club definitely has practice. Your plan went up in flames. So then, what are we gonna do today?
そこまで計算済み？
You are literally the only person he can do that with. It was obviously a coincidence, but I had wanted to avoid any Christmas get-together entirely.
オール君ってほんと性格悪いよね。
You're awfully rude.
まあ、いっか。それじゃあ隣町まで行こう。
Is something going on there?
Baseball.
あるホテルでね、ライトアップがすごいらしいの。来週見に行くから、その下調べも兼ねて。
Oh ho ho ho. Well, this might have just worked out very serendipitously.
What a coincidence. Wow, it's almost like we're in a visual novel or something.
What a twist.
A hotel. A town over.
すっごい日本庭園があるんだって。
Yeah,
see.
let's go. Come on.
What are we waiting for?
Okay, let's go. Right now.
Meow.
何急に。
Come on, run for it already. Come on already.
なんだのよ
Gotta go fast.
本日はお時間をいただきましてありがとうございます。
マリアさんとお話の機会を持つのにご尽力いただきましたもの。お礼をしたかったところですわ。
マリアとは随分と仲良くなられたようで。
彼女と懇意な星テレビの城ヶ崎さんが学園で同じクラスですの。その縁がありまして、今後は龍蔵寺さんのお手を煩わせずとも彼女に接触できそうです。
Hint, hint.
そうですか。それでですね、今日呼び出したのは他でもない。
はい。
巷に妙な噂が出ていたそうですね。何でも僕とあなたが将来を前提にした仲であったとか。
はあ。
僕が流したんだけど。
この人が流したのよね。
She's not as simple as you think she is.
このたかが噂についてソルティレージは公式に否定したそうですね。
ええ、風評は早めに立つのが常道ですから。
この件で少々こちら困っていましてね。
Well, that sounds like a you problem, doesn't it?
民衆というのは勝手なもので特別仲がいいわけではないと聞くと自然と仲が悪いとやっかんでしまう。我が龍蔵寺家と貴家の間が不穏であるかのように邪推されてしまっていまして。
それは
元はといえば僕のせいだけど。
元はといえばこの人のせいよね。
そこでですね。
はい。
You okay there? Do you need a bag to breathe into?
Incidentally, I have a weird...
どうしたのかしら。
You have a weird...
What's it, what is it? Kyoto-chan.
Oh.
The robot. Where is the robot?
I don't know. That's a good question. Theoretically, it's usually around her, so...
Because, you know, his whole plan is to, like, ambush Sylvie, so, like... I don't know.
Oh, well, okay, I see where you're going with I don't know. That's a good question.
And Ellison, so, like, I don't know. Anyway, keep going.
Oh no, he's turning into Pig Ganon.
そういえばいつの間にかエルたちが周りにいない。
Well, that answers part of that.
Alright, that's actually bad.
Yes, it is.
ここがそのホテルだけど。
Ooh, it's nice.
Yeah.
Russell. Oh, I bet the loon's coming back. There it is.
なんかカメラ持った人多いね。今日何かあるのかな。
I'm sorry, Chieka, we can't hear you. For some reason, this
What?
crowd noise seems to get louder every time it comes up.
Yeah, must be.
Eyeing all around.
どうしたのオール君。誰か探してるの？
Nah.
帰りなさい。現在ここの庭園は立ち入り禁止です。
Oh, there's Ella.
だから立ち入ってはないっしょ。公共の場ですよ。 勝手に追い出したらそれこそ犯罪っすよ。
Public places get closed for private events all the time.
Ella-san?
市松殿、なぜここに？
誰この美人。
She's also been in our room, incidentally.
なんだか怖いわこの人。エルはどこへ行ったのかしら。
I'm just glad we can't hear those crowds from here.
あと2分。話を引き伸ばさなくては。なぜあんな噂をいちいち否定したのでしょう。
ですから。
I really don't like you.
放っておけばよかったことですよね。どうしていちいち否定したので？
それはですから、それが普通です。結果不利益を被ったそちらには残念ですけど。
誰かお付き合いしてる方でもいるので？いませんよね。いたら国が黙ってませんよね。
それはおりませんけど。
じゃあどうして急に否定したので？あと1分。
What's with all the Hey, don't push!
わかりません。
There was definitely a seemingly famous Japanese-style garden, but it was encircled by a massive fleet of men that we can't actually see.
Oh, we can hear him though.
Oh yeah. They were different from Ella and Sylvie's black-suited guards. They were all adept on their feet, but had chosen pretty sloppy attire. And they all had cameras in their hands. It was such a chaotic setting that Ella's group were unsure of how to respond. Sylvie had to be in the middle of it all as we spoke. If they had cameras, that must mean...
Excuse me.
Huh?
I'm new here, so I'm not entirely sure, but is something going on here today?
With a sleazy grin, I spoke to a nearby man. I outwardly looked like a completely ordinary Japanese man. It was unlikely they'd assume I was associated with sortilege.
俺も知らねえけど、今日11時ここでとんでもないスクープになる事件が起きるってタレコミがあったんだよ。ソルティレージオのお姫様がここにいるみたいだし、これ大事件の匂いだぜ。
A scandal? If they were warned, there'd be some scandal in advance. And at 11 o'clock? That wasn't even half a minute away.
あと22秒。
Wow, he really has this timed out.
20秒で記者たちが飛び込んでくる。その瞬間にキス。その写真が世間に回れば新たな火の玉になる。
その急に否定したのは私
あと5秒。4、3、2。
好きな人が
11時。
The camera-wielding men surged into the garden like a flash avalanche.
待て貴様ら。
An incident had occurred at a previously disclosed time somewhere a member of royalty was present. I had no idea how accurate these reporters were, but the crowd was massive. They must have had a pretty reliable source. I may have been a Japanese citizen who led a peaceful life, but I wasn't so foolish that the word terrorism didn't come to mind when this many prerequisites were met. Ella's group were preoccupied with stopping the flood of men. There was no time.
All of you, keep away!
I slipped into the reporter's midst and rushed into the garden. I pushed through the pine trees, which hid the bank of a lake deeper within.
Sylvie!
Ouro?
I was the very first to find his way inside. Sylvie was there in Japanese clothing, standing with two men. Was that man an assassin? No, a bomber. Sniper? I had no idea what would come next.
Sniper no sniping.
But if he was after Sylvie...
Get down!
If you want to leave! I rushed at him without hesitation.
今だ
The man suddenly grabbed Sylvie's shoulders. Maybe he really was an assassin? As Sylvie stood there astonished, he drew his face in closer to hers.
もらった
Oh, there's Kiro.
Oh, hey, there he is.
Ba-boom!
And that's how Ryuzoji died.
Ryuzoji's blasting off again! Ding! Ding! The likely assassin was blown up before he could get over to
Alright, well, I was kind of just joking, but never mind. Alright.
Okay. But while Kiro may have defeated the assassin, the detonation had no real destructive force. Okay.
Whoa!
I snatched Sylvia as she flew off to the side. We tumbled onto the ground in a grand fashion. Ow! Oh, flashy action moves weren't something I'd actually do in real life. Oh, my whole body ached after I slammed into the stone pavement. Also, why was it my upper lip hurt? Like something had crashed into it pretty hard. Well, that's a hell of a way to get a first kiss, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We're not in yet, but we're close.
It's yeah.
おーシルビア王女だ取れ取れ
Oh, this backfired gloriously.
やっぱ可愛いなあれキスしてるおい大スクープだ羨ましいでもこれが飯の種なんでね
The onlookers were being pretty noisy. But as for me, personally, my brain stopped functioning the second I recognized the situation I'd found myself in. We were pressed together. Well, yeah, considering the sensation I had felt against my mouth. Sylvie gently lifted her face. She was on top, so she could easily part from me if she did so. The sensation, it seemed to linger, to cling to my mouth. A soft, squishy, melty sensation. And that brief moment would be forever etched into my memory. Oh. Yep.
We're in! We did it, boys.
Mission accomplished. Why? A pleasant sensation pressed against me once more. I was obviously happy about it. But the reaction that came to mind was less joy and more why. Sylvie, she was fully aware of what she was doing right now. She knew that she was doing this with Me?
Ouro.
And then, it went without saying, in the 2 hours that followed, those photos of us caused a massive uproar all over the internet. Not our fault. Not our fault. Don't take our arm, please.
記者は全員拿捕したのですが、あの写真はすでに回収不可能の状況です。
You do hear them often say democracy is the most impossible tyrant to control in all of history.
I have never heard anybody say that.
I just did right now.
I have heard one person say that. Ellison's black-suited troops surged in afterwards and brought Sylvie and me to a separate room. After a short wait, we were transferred here. Hi.
Chiera.
My and Sylvie's relationship was immensely touchy at the moment.
困ったことをしてくれましたね。
Oops.
It's kind of hard to feel bad about it given the circumstances, you know.
事故です、事故。
Oh. I don't know that she was talking to us.
Oh, cool. Wasn't our fault this time.
Hey. Smoke was still pluming off of this man's hair turned afro. Oh, I wish there was a screen grab.
Me too.
She was going to talk it out with him first?
我々が日本の司法の外にあることはご存知ですね。シルビー様を大衆扇動に利用したとあれば、腕の一本で済む不祥事ではありませんが。
I'm beginning to think that your mental image of her just holding his severed head might have not been that off target.
Look, she just gives off that vibe.
Rightly so.
だから誤解ですって。ちょっと王女と私の仲の良さを匂わせる記事を作らせ、我々とそちらの不仲の噂を払拭したかっただけ、それだけですよ。
Liar! Liar!
シルビア様に対しては一緒に日本庭園の風流を楽しもうとした。それだけなんですから。
本当にそれだけ？
You didn't try to kiss her?
誤解ですよ。
He faced away. Well, there was no way to prove just how far he had intended to go.
I understand you wanted to become closer to Sylvie. How close aside. But I don't believe that would have been a great idea. Please don't try this again.
This may have not been my comment to make, but Ellison stood by silently and watched, so I said it anyway.
申し訳なかったと思うし、二度としない。
I did not know he was capable of feeling remorse.
しかしこちらも家や会社を守る意味でだね。
He was still spewing out excuses left and right. It wasn't like I didn't get what he was saying, but...
That stuff doesn't make a lick of sense to me, but you really should stop making excuses. I mean, you probably had a reason for all the crap you pulled. Even if that were the case, your methods were way off base. If you wanted to get closer to Sylvie, you should have just said so from the beginning.
We're ones to talk.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, how should I put this? It's really lame.
Oh, death blow.
If you want to win a girl's goodwill, you aim to be cool first, if you ask me. And by me, I mean Rhea, really.
Yeah.
Not trying to lecture you or anything.
but doing so anyway. My statement was a bit high and mighty sounding. It also hurt knowing how my rant could just as easily be applied to me.
本当に申し訳ない。
The man bowed his head to me for some reason. Elasan stepped between us.
あの庭園にはいたずらで花火のようなものが仕掛けられており、記者たちにはその情報がリークされていた。花火に驚いたシルビー様は転んでしまい、偶然近くにいた少年と接触、転倒。その際に顎部を強く打ちましたが、怪我はなし。運悪くそばにいた龍蔵寺殿が花火の直撃を受けて軽度のやけど。これでいかがでしょう？
Didn't you just use the flashy thing from Men in Black?
Don't even worry about it.
十分です。
その髪、洗った方がいいでしょう。ボラルコーチェ。
こちらへお願いします。
Use cold water.
はい。
17枚ほど版をいただく念書がございます。まずはお着替えをどうぞ。
They took him away. Okay. With that obstacle out of the way. Hi. There was one significantly larger issue remaining. That was... yeah. It was an accident, but it didn't really change the fact that it happened. Sylvie had been frazzled ever since earlier. I guess even a kiss, which was on par with a greeting in foreign countries, was different when it was on the lips.
Well, don't worry about it. Our mouths just plop together, that's all.
そんなわけにはいかないでしょ
What?
ファーストキスだったのに。
Oh. Well. Simply looking at her in the eye instantly drove her into a panic. I felt the same way, so I totally understood. When... Oh, hi, Chieka. You didn't say the magic word? Chieka, who I was dragged away from at the hotel, was brought in by the black suits.
ついでなので来ていただきました。どちらももう帰って結構ですが、どうします？またホテルへと言うなら送り届けます。
Why do you have to word it like that?
Yeah.
どうなってるのオーロくん。ここどこ？なんでソルティレージュの領事館に？
Kind of a long story. Yeah.
てか、あの人って、シルビア王女？はじめまして。チエカさん、よね。オーロから話は伺ってるわ。私のこと知ってくれてる？ええ、知ってる。オーロの、とても大事な女の子。まあ大事にはされてますけど。ごめんなさい。ゆっくり挨拶したいけれど、この後用事があって。二人はあのホテルに用があるのでしょ？戻った方がいいわ。エキスナ、お送りして。
はい。
Sylvia appeared to be on the verge of tears as she looked between me and Chieka. I thought it was strange until we finally made eye contact.
Ouro.
Sylvie? Hey, Sylvie!
And for whatever reason, she suddenly broke into a sprint. I quickly chased after her. Okay, thank you. At least one thing right.
Mm-hmm.
あれ市松様、ホテルは？行っちゃった。隊長、どうしましょう。どうするも何もご命令されたのだ。追いかけるしかあるまい。はい。急ぐ必要はありませんが。
Okay.
Alright. Wait!
なんで追ってくるのよ
Why are you running from me? Hold up a second, Sylvie. And hey, you're fat. Were you always this quick on your feet?
I was running at top speed, and she was still faster than me, and wearing heels. This isn't even Jurassic World. Had there been at any point in me running off with her in my arms that very first day we met? Aside from the fact that it brought us together.
I said wait.
For who knows what reason, we headed here as if we were in sync. We had both dashed at full strength, so I was nearly out of stamina. My stamina bar's been depleted. The furthest I could make it. Was here. We both slumped to the ground.
Why did you run away?
なんで追ってくるのよ
To finally clear up this misunderstanding, I hope.
We'd been repeating this same argument since earlier. It was pointless for Sylvie to run away, and equally pointless for me to follow her. If I had to say, it was because we wanted to come here. We wanted to be alone. I guess that about covered it.
I know, Sylvie. Let me say something first. That wasn't your first kiss. You know it wasn't.
"10 years ago." Sylvie saved me when I was drowning in the lake, and Rhea pulled us up.
You saved us, Soma.
シルビアさん、大丈夫
But Sylvie seemed to have swallowed some water and was in the middle of a coughing fit.
What do we do, Soma? This girl's gonna drown.
わかんない
She wouldn't drown now that we'd reached land, but I got scared when I saw Sylvie choking on the water in pain.
Hey. CPR.
意味ないよ。シルビアさん大丈夫？溺れてた男の子を助けようとしたら、助けた途端に唇を奪われた。日本人って意味がわからないと思ったものだわ。
As a side note, it was weird that the line read started before the text appeared.
Yeah, it was. I was wondering if that was just on my end or if it was like the end. Alright, cool.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
あんなのはファーストキスには含めません。
Well then, does getting blown up by a owl robot and smashed together count as the first one either?
私のファーストキスは今日よ。
Well, I guess what
It
happened
does.
after.
It does, actually.
イチに奪われたんじゃなくて、オーロとしたの。ファーストキスを。
Yeah.
They're the same person. If she insisted, then that worked. That wasn't the problem.
でも、オーロは気にしないでいいと思うの。事故、ただの事故なんだから。
Yeah, it was an accident, but
私はいいから。チエカさんのところに戻ってあげて。
huh?
大事な人なのでしょ。
Well, yeah, she is important, I guess.
ほら、
Yeah. Sylvie, don't you have the wrong idea?
Thank you.
車の用意ができました。どうぞ。
はいはい。うわ、すごいリムジン。オーロくん転校先でどんな生活を送ってるんだろう。
About normal.
Actually, after the first, few weeks, pretty good.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
うちの経済状況じゃ絶対ありえないな。
あと、この領事館に入った日本人は誰であれ記録が必要となります。こちらに記名を。
Chieka, I heard a loon.
はい。市松千恵かと。
Wait.
Mhm.
Wait. Now I feel like the slow one.
I actually do too, because I literally, when she said our economic status, I was just sitting there being like, wait, hold up. Did I not notice this ever?
Feeling a little bit like Han Solo, but not nearly as cool.
Ichimatsu Chieka. I told you back at camp. Do you not remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he gets to ask people if they remember about camp when he remembered nothing.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sure.
聞いたことない。
Yeah, neither have we. We were pretty distant back when we were little too, huh? No matter how many times I protested, Chieka refused to address me as Oni-chan and called me Oro-kun instead. You'd think she were the older sibling with how often she nagged at me. Also, their hair looks absolutely nothing alike.
Nothing at all.
I mean, what? Did she have Sothis inside of her and come back as the enlightened one or something?
She is definitely important to me. But not in the way you're imagining, Sylvie.
Not that kind of game.
She's not the sort of person I'd want to do this with.
She's also not the sort of person we'd want to have a fan disc route with, so clarification purposes. I pressed my lips against hers for the second or third time? Whatever. The very first calm kiss of my entire life. It was an elegant, soft sensation entirely befitting of Sylvie.
Sylvie.
But
捕まえた。
damn it.
Whoa!
It was then that we were surrounded by a group of black-suited guards. I'm getting the strangest sense of deja vu.
こちらへ、ホテルへご案内します。
Hey, wait, we were just getting the good part.
They dragged me off. Sylvie was left there, still spacey from the afterglow of our kiss. As I was pulled away from her, farewell. And this is probably a good place to stop this episode.
Yes, it is. Well, we basically solved the tension of the entire arc. Like, at least leading to the two of us realizing that she is interested in us, we're interested in her, and Chieko or anyone else aren't really in the way.
I feel really dumb for not figuring out the Chieka twist, though.
Oh, I feel real stupid.
I don't know if it was just obvious and we are just like Ouro grade dense, or what the deal is, because I mean, I don't feel like there were any incredibly obvious signs, maybe other than the way that Ouro treats Chieka, but even that isn't necessarily a dead giveaway, in my opinion.
No.
However, if there were some extremely obvious signs and we're both just dumb AF, let us know in the comments. But please kind of be nice about it, at least a little bit, but yeah, do let us know. But thank you all for watching. It has been a wild ride, but I am glad that we have finally gotten past some of the things that were really dragging us down pace-wise. I think we're good.
It's all uphill for Ouro.
Uphill. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we will see you all in the next episode. For now, we are the Bridge Boys, signing off.